All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to demystify the difference between web design and web development. And you might be asking, why does this matter? Well, because confusing the two can lead to some seriously expensive mistakes. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. We're not talking about a simple mix-up of job titles. This is a confusion that has very real, very costly consequences for businesses, big and small. So how does this whole expensive mess actually happen? It usually goes one of two ways. You end up hiring a developer to fix a site that's ugly, or you hire a designer to fix a site that's broken. And let me tell you, both of those paths are a surefire way to just burn through your time and your money. Okay, so how do we solve this? We have to start with the most basic, the most fundamental split in all of web creation. Let's really break down what designers and developers actually do. If you remember one thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this analogy. It's so powerful. Designers are the architects. They're the ones creating the detailed blueprints, what we call mock-ups and prototypes. And the developers? They're the construction crew. They take those blueprints and they physically build the thing, the actual functional structure, with code. What's so cool about this is you can see it's two completely different mindsets, right? The designer is thinking all about human psychology. They're asking, what does a user see? What do they feel? The developer, on the other hand, is laser-focused on the logic of the system, asking, how does this machine actually work? And here's the key thing to understand about what a designer actually gives you. They deliver a visual plan. It might look real, it might even feel real when you click on it, but it's basically a very sophisticated, interactive picture. It cannot take your credit card, it can't submit a form, it's a picture of a website. Now, the developer's deliverable? That's the complete opposite. It's all the stuff you can't see. It's the code that brings that picture to life. Think of it like the engine under the hood, all that invisible infrastructure that handles servers, databases, and actually makes the payment processing happen. And, it gets even more granular than that. Even inside the world of development, there's another major split. You've got front-end developers who build everything you can actually see and touch on the screen, and then you have back-end developers who build that invisible engine that makes it all run. Okay, so we've got designers and developers sorted out, but now let's peel back another layer and dive into the world of design itself, because there's another really common point of confusion here, and that's the difference between UX and UI. Here's probably the easiest way to think about it. UX, or user experience, is the underlying strategy. It's the structure and the flow of the entire user journey. UI, or user interface, is the visual part. It's the polish and the presentation that sits on top of that structure. A UX designer is, at their core, a problem solver. Their entire job is to answer the question, how does this work for the user? A lot of their work is totally invisible. They're doing research, testing with real users, and creating these really basic blueprints called wireframes. It's all about making sure the whole thing flows logically before anyone worries about colors and fonts. The UI designer is the one who comes in and takes that structural blueprint and makes it absolutely beautiful. They are masters of aesthetics. They're asking, how does this look and feel? They pick the colors, the typography, the spacing, all the things that create a stunning interface that feels professional and trustworthy. And this right here is so important. The order matters. You absolutely have to do the UX work first to figure out what you're building. Only then can a UI designer come in and decide how it should look. It's always structure before style. So we've defined all the roles, but what actually guides all good design work? What are the universal principles that apply whether we're talking about UX or UI? Understanding these is the key to seeing why design is so much more than just making things look pretty. I love this one. It's a fantastic, super practical technique that literally anyone can use. Just do it right now. Squint at your screen until the text gets blurry. Can you still tell what the most important button or headline is? If you can, the design has a strong visual hierarchy. If it all just blends into a gray mush, well, you've got a problem. Hierarchy is really just the art of controlling a user's attention. A well-designed page makes it instantly obvious what to look at first, second, and third. You're guiding their eye through the content. And remember that old saying, if you try to make everything important, then nothing is. Contrast is what makes things pop. It's how you create a clear distinction between elements so the important stuff stands out. And we're not just talking about color here. It's about size, weight, style, anything that makes your calls to action unmissable and your text easy to read. So many people look at empty space on a page and think it's wasted, but that could not be further from the truth. Whitespace is an active, powerful design tool. It's not empty space, it's breathing room. It groups related items together, creates focus, and honestly, generous whitespace just signals quality and confidence. Here is a super practical, concrete rule for you. On a mobile device, any button or link that someone needs to tap should be at least 44 pixels tall and wide. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. That's about the average size of a human fingertip. Anything smaller is just a recipe for frustration.
Okay, let's bring this all home. How do you actually use this knowledge to make the right call when you're hiring, and most importantly, avoid those really expensive mistakes we talked about at the very beginning?
This right here is your simple diagnostic tool. All you have to do is listen to the words you're using to describe the problem with your site. If you're saying things like, "it looks dated," or "our users keep getting lost," that's a design problem. You need a designer. But if you're saying, "this button is broken," or "the checkout form won't submit," that's a development problem. You need a developer. It's that simple. And if you're starting a brand new project from scratch, the sequence is absolutely critical. You have to hire the designer first. You need the architect's blueprints before you bring in the construction crew. You wouldn't do it any other way in the real world, so don't do it here.
So, here's the real bottom line. A website that simply works is not enough. A site can be technically flawless, a perfect piece of code, but if it's confusing, ugly, or frustrating to use, it has failed. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Does your website truly serve its users? Take a fresh look with these new eyes.